Ooh, it looks slow. Okay, nonetheless, here we are, folks, with the 88th edition of Englishing with Jings. We're discussing one of my favorite subjects, the history of video game consoles. That's right, people. My family was always into the video games. We had the Atari 2600, the Atari 5200, the Atari 7200. We had the Nintendo. We had the Sega Genesis, the Super Nintendo, then the PlayStation. King Chung Sek, what's happening, my man? We're talking video game consoles. I've had every PlayStation except for the 5. I still don't have the 5. A little hard to get where I'm living now, unfortunately, but I will have it. I promise you that. Okay, King Chung Sek, what are you, a PlayStation man? Xbox? Nintendo, maybe? You know, Nintendo is what really broke it wide open for me. Atari 2600, 52, and 7200 was pretty cool. But when the regular Nintendo came out, and you could actually take that plastic gun and play Duck Hunt and shoot the ducks on the screen, wow, man, that was awesome. And then PlayStation came out, blew our minds. I never turned back. I personally am a PlayStation man. So having said that, we still have to go through our reports first, people. So let's get right into it. The 88th edition of the vaccine report. Here we go. By the way, that's going to change next week. I'll just give you guys a preview. Okay, here we go. We're going to go through this as fast as possible. All right, total vaccines so far. The world so far has had 7.45 billion vaccines. China, 2.37 billion. They account for about, 30%, it looks like. Okay, India, 1.11 billion. US, 437.35 million. You know, the one good thing about the COVID report is, as I've said many times in the past, this gives all of my students a good chance to practice numbers, because a lot of my students have, well, I don't want to say they have problems with numbers, but sometimes they struggle. Like, I've heard my students say, instead of 437 million, they'll say 43,700 or something like that. It's always maybe a decimal off. But okay, back to this. Brazil, 294.22 million. Indonesia, 211.91 million. That surprises me. Japan, 193.68 million. Mexico, nearly 130 at 129.2. Pakistan, 118.33. Turkey, 118.22 million. Germany, 114.8. Russia, 112.31. The UK, 108.28. France, 100.78. Vietnam, 96.56. Iran, 95.87. Italy, 91.9. Thailand, last week's subject, 83.32. Bangladesh, 82.59. Korea, South Korea, 81.39. We don't know what North Korea has. They don't report. Spain, 73.62 million. Philippines, 67.72. Canada, a whopping 59.48 million. Chile, 38.84. Egypt, 30.56. Cambodia 28.21, Taiwan 27.48, Cuba 26.66, South Africa 23.83, the UAE 21.48, Portugal 16.27, Singapore 10.09, Hong Kong 9.16, Nigeria 8.93, and Serbia 7.37. Okay, that's total vaccines in all of these countries. And let's just go through the headliner. 51.6% of the world's population has received at least one dose. 7.45 billion doses have been administered globally, and 31.1 million are now administered each day. Okay. Enough of that. And we're going to dive right into our 88th edition of the astrology or horoscopes report. Okay. Almost there. Patience. And here we go. All right. Starting off with Aries, as we always do. This week, the stars align for love. It has to be love. Aries, a romantic rendezvous is possible. The week begins with Mercury and Scorpio in your house of resources and Venus in your house of career, both making an inconjunct node in Gemini. This forms a yod. What is a yod? Anybody? Anybody? I don't know what a yod is. You've reached a fork in the road. One road leads to a financial windfall and the other to positive recognition. Aries, you can only take one road. Your decision will tell you something about yourself. On Wednesday, with Mercury and Scorpio joining forces with Mars, and these two planets make a square to Saturn in Aquarius in your house of friendships. A friend may tell you they don't believe you. They may accuse you of something you have not done. Aries, a misunderstanding can get blown out of proportion, and your temper is hair trigger today. Watch your step. All right. On to Taurus. A lunar eclipse in your own sign of Taurus lights up the sky this week, Taurus. You're in the spotlight. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of relationships, makes a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of timetables. You want to be more social, reconnect with friends, and spend more time with your sweetheart. This all boils down to scheduling. Right now, your free time may be eaten up by scrolling or watching videos that aren't actually relevant to your life. Today is a good day to break free of this pattern. Call a friend and schedule a dinner date. With the sun in Scorpio moving to make a sextile to Pluto in your house of philosophy, on Tuesday, you've heard of some people who live by a code. Taurus, you live by rules. But if you're not aware of them, they could be invisibly controlling your life. This is a good time to define your guiding principles. If you see yourself as health conscious, you'll no longer struggle with poor eating. If you see yourself as ambitious, then you'll never question whether you should work on Saturday. Must be nice to have a choice. Okay. On to Gemini. Ooh, the lunar eclipse this week travels through your house of spirituality, Gemini. You can make a deep connection. All right. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of routines, making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of information. It may be part of your daily routine to check your Twitter feed and scroll through Facebook. But you may ask yourself if this information gives you inspiration and uplifts you. Today, consider a change to your routine. The sun in Scorpio moves to make a sextile to Pluto in your house of investments. This is a good day to go through your accounts, Gemini. You might calculate your net worth or see if your portfolio needs to be rebalanced. If you're new to investing, you might be buying your first share of stock, or you could be looking into something more exotic like a Bitcoin derivative. Note that this aspect lends itself towards investigation, but not necessarily luck. Fair enough. All right, on to Cancer. All right. This week, the lunar eclipse brings changes to life. Cancer, you're taking the lead. All right. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of romance and adventure, makes a square to Jupiter and Aquarius in your house of intimacy. Today, you could meet someone new who literally knocks your socks off. Cancer, this could be the opportunity you've been looking for to explore your intimate side. The sun in Scorpio moves to make a sextile to Pluto in your house of partnerships on Tuesday. Now you may be exploring the psychology of your relationship, analyzing your sweetheart's last few texts. Excuse me. You may be checking in with friends to see what they think of the various emojis you're receiving, or checking Emojipedia to confirm the definition. I've never done that. I think I know them all. If you find yourself emotionally spinning, then return to the present moment, take a breath, and be kind to yourself. That is sound advice. You know, if you don't love yourself, you can't love everybody else, or anybody else for that matter. All right. On to Leo. This week, the lunar eclipse makes you more noticeable. Leo, you are acknowledged. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of living arrangements, makes a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of relationships. You and your life partner may be discussing your dwelling. Perhaps you're moving in together, refinancing your house, or just thinking about moving. This is your opportunity to get some help from the universe by visualizing what you would like before you start packing. With the sun in Scorpio making a sextile to Pluto in your house of work, today a business opportunity presents itself. Leo, you could get hours, a better shift, or a better position in the company. Taking action towards your goal is key. The opportunity is revealed, but not handed to you. Nothing's free. All right. On to Virgo. This week, travel plans can change with the... Oh, I'm having a sneeze attack. Okay. Travel plans can change with the lunar eclipse. Virgo, you may need a contingency plan. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of correspondence, phone calls, and texts, make a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of time management. Today, you may spend hours emptying your email inbox, answering phone calls, and responding to texts. Virgo, an endless series of inquiries could gobble up your time. While you do value each and every one of these people, you sometimes wish that you had a private secretary to screen your calls. All right, with the sun in Scorpio moves to make a sextile to Pluto in your house of romance and adventure. Today, you may accept a date with someone that turns out to be amazing. Virgo, here is someone who may not fit your ideal love candidate, but they have some very interesting qualities, and they may be quite interested in you. Okay, on to Libra. All right, this week, the lunar eclipse lights up your house of resources. Libra, you're finding your balance. Libra is a scale. Makes sense. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of cash money, making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of risk taking. To have money to work for you requires some level of risk taking, doesn't it always? Money under the mattress does not accrue interest. On the other hand, money is a triple leveraged bespoke tranche investment that could cause you to lose sleep. Libra, there is some middle ground, and today's a good day to explore where that is. There are investments for every budget. It's time to do some exploring. With the sun in Scorpio making a sextile to Pluto in your house of family. Hi, Celia. Welcome to the show. You may be asking family members if they want your sofa, your old laptop, or grandma's rocking chair that's been in your spare room for the last 2 years. By the end of the day, you may have less stuff and more space in your home. Okay. Oh, malfunction. Give me 1 second here. It says my screening is paused. What's up with that? Okay. I'm freaking out for no reason. I see what I did. I apologize. I'm sorry. What the heck? Okay. Scorpio. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. The lunar eclipse lights up your house of partnerships. Scorpio, this could help you get paired up. On Monday, the sun in your own sign of Scorpio, happy birthday, makes a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of family. People in your life are throwing the spotlight on you. They think that you're worth celebrating. Generally, you don't like being the center of attention, but this may be your time to grab the mic and make a toast. Smile and accept their compliments. Scorpio, it's the thought that counts. Okay, with the sun in Scorpio and your house of confidence, moves to make a sextile to Pluto on Tuesday, November 16th. I never read the date. Why did I do that? This is an excellent time to put yourself forward in a business situation. Scorpio, you could ask for a raise or apply for a management position. Here we go again. Goodness gracious. You might want to launch a podcast or do a live stream. If you want a new job, consider posting your resume today. By the way, I'm not sick. This is new. Okay. On to Sagittarius. Sneeze show. This week, the lunar now I can't even talk. The lunar eclipse could disrupt your routines. Sagittarius, you can make incremental improvements. On Monday, in your house of intuition makes a square to Jupiter in your house of communication. You're quite intuitive today. Throughout the day, this might see symbols. You might see symbols and signs. A wild animal might poke his head out of a bush as you walk by. You look at the clock and it's 11:11. Hey, I took advantage of that 11:11 sale, by the way. A little internet research will tell you the meaning of these portents. Sagittarius, you are receiving messages. All right, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of magic, making a sextile to Pluto in your house of money, a ritual could increase money inflow. You might place feng shui Cures such as strings of coins around your front door. You might light a metallic gold candle and drip a little bit of the wax on your lottery ticket. Sagittarius, you might take a prosperity bath, adding orange and pineapple essential oils to your warm bath water. And the stuffy nose is next. All right. On to Capricorn. Coffee always helps. Okay. This week, the lunar eclipse spurs you towards adventure, and Capricorn romance is a possibility. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of community, making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius in your house of values, you're a person who understands duty and responsibility, but sometimes you underestimate how much you enjoy making a contribution to the people around you. Today's a good day to do something within the community. Capricorn, this can be something formal like helping out a charity or working for the city council. Or you may just pick up some trash on your walk through the neighborhood. The sun in Scorpio moves forward to make a sextile to Pluto in your own sign of Capricorn on Tuesday, November 16th. Today, your identity is combined with personal power. This means that you can stand up and be counted. You can talk to the boss about changes you want to make in the office, and he or she may listen. You might run for a board position, perhaps even the challenging treasurer position for your networking group. You might go to a protest to make your feelings about an issue known. Okay, on to Aquarius. This week, your living arrangements could be affected by the lunar eclipse. Aquarius, you see options. On Monday, with the sun in Scorpio in your house of reputation, making a square to Jupiter in your own sign of Aquarius, today you could receive some unexpected publicity. The boss may single you out at a meeting to give you praise. Aquarius, you may win an award for high sales or excellent service. With the sun in Scorpio moving forward to make a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn in your house of magic, if you're looking for a new job, this is a good day to call for help through magic. You may want to write a few paragraphs about your ideal life and light a yellow candle. Yellow represents happiness. Aquarius, pull out a piece of gold jewelry to wear as it reminds you to seek out what is valuable. All right, last but not least, the wonderful Pisces. All right, this week, the lunar eclipse lights up your area of communication. Pisces, you could change your mind. On Monday, November 15th, I did it again, the sun in Scorpio in your house of education, making a square to Jupiter in Aquarius. You are sucking up knowledge today like a sponge picks up water, also known as absorbing. You could meet an interesting person with the experience to answer your queries. Or Pisces, you may have found a YouTube channel that answers your exact question. The sun in Scorpio moves forward to make a sextile to Pluto in Capricorn in your house of friendships. Today, you can expand your circle of friends by attending a party where you know very few people. Pisces, this is an opportunity to get an introduction to some new people. Today, some important connections could be made. All right, chappies and women. That's going to do it for the 88th edition of the Horoscope Report. Which brings me to our favorite part, the 88th edition of Vocabulary. 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 Okay. Let's get this party started, shall we? All right. Our first vocabulary, and well, it's basically, essentially, part of our subject's title, game consoles. Game consoles. And there's no definition for game consoles, really. Give me a second. We'll just go with consoles. Say it with me, everybody. Game consoles. Okay. Let's see if I can find, here we go. An electronic system that connects to a display, such as a television, and is used primarily to play video games. Good job, Merriam-Webster. Okay, number 2 on the list is peripheral. That PH makes a fuss sound, peripheral. Say it with me, everybody. Peripheral. Uh-huh. Sounded good. All right. Peripheral. Okay. Of, relating to, or being the outer part of the field of vision. Of or relating to computer peripherals. What we see, peripheral. Okay. On to number 3. And something that's really involved or evolved in the last, we'll say 40 years, graphics. Graphics. Again, PH, F, like F. Say it with me, everybody. Graphics. Uh-huh. You got it. Okay. Of or relating to pictorial arts. It's really short, but that's what it is. Okay, number 4, controller. Controller. Say it with me, everybody. Controller. Uh-huh. Very good. Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. One that controls or has power of authority. Okay, controller in the video game world is that little plastic device that you use to play the video game. Here we go again. This needs to stop. All right, here's a throwback word. For number 5, we have joystick. Joystick. Say it with me, everybody. Joystick. Uh-huh. Very good. A control for any various devices, such as a computer, that resembles an airplane's joystick, especially in being capable of motion in 2 or more directions. You know, for a long time there, when we'll say Commodore 64, Atari, all those first consoles came out, it was not called a controller. It was called a joystick. And I thought that that would be what controllers were called forever after that point. But turns out we ended up calling them controls or controllers. But joystick was the OG, the original name for those devices that we held. But it had a stick and a couple of buttons. The modern controllers are much easier to use, that's for sure. But I miss the old joysticks, actually. All right, on to number 6, multiplayer. Oh, I like this graphic. Multiplayer. Say it with me, everybody. Multiplayer. Okay. It's an adjective. I have not been saying the parts of speech. Brandon, come on, get with it. This sneezing is kicking my butt. Okay, the definition of multiplayer: involving or intended for more than one player. Involving or allowing simultaneous play by more than one player through a shared interface. Multiplayer. All right, on to number 7, role playing. Role playing. Say it with me, everybody. Role playing. Okay, role play is a verb, and it is to act out the role of, or to represent in action, to play a role, essentially. Role play. All right. On to number 8, and more modern video gaming, virtual reality. Virtual reality, or also known as VR in the PlayStation world. Say it with me, everybody. Virtual reality. Very good. Okay, this is a noun, and it's an artificial environment which is experienced through sensory stimuli, such as sights and sounds, provided by a computer or a game console, in which one's actions partially determine what happens in the environment. All right. By the way, I have not experienced the VR for PlayStation 4 or 5 yet. I hear it's okay. Nothing special. Okay, on to number 9, content. Content. Say it with me, everybody. Content. Very good. Okay. Something contained, the topics or matter treated in a written work, the principal substance, such as written manners, illustration, or music offered by a website or video game. I have to implement my own words in these. The events, physical detail, and information in a work of art. The matter dealt with in a field of study. A part, element, or complex of parts. So many different ways to define content. Okay. On to number 10, interactive. Interactive. Say it with me, everybody. Interactive. So good. All right, interactive is an adjective involving the actions or input of a user, of relating to or being a two-way electronic communication system, such as a telephone, cable TV, computer, or game console that involves a user's orders or responses. Interactive. All right, number 11, which would go with that graphic that we had earlier, first person. Actually, first person is normally a first person shooter game. These are very popular in modern times. First person. Say it with me, everybody. First person. Okay. Very good. Okay, first person is an adjective, and it's experienced as if through the eyes of an avatar, as in video game. First person. Very good. Okay, we go now to number 12, genres. Genres. I never say this word right. Say it with me, everybody. Genres. Genres. Feel free to pronounce this one any way you like. Okay. Genres is a category of artistic, musical, or literary composition characterized by a particular style, form, or content. Categories, we can say, to shorten it up a bit. All right, and number 13, last but not least, this is what we get from these beautiful game consoles: entertainment. That's a long word on that video screen, isn't it? Entertainment. Say it with me, everybody. Entertainment. Entertainment is a noun, and it's an amusement or diversion provided especially by performers. Something diverting or engaging. The act of entertaining. Entertainment. All right, guys. That's going to do it for the 88th edition of Vocabulary Report. Okay, give me 1 second here. There's so much information on the history of video game consoles. It's ridiculous. All right, we'll start with this one, and I'm going to share. We're going to go through the different generations here. Okay, almost there. I had my light off earlier. Is it better that way? I think I'm too dark, right? Yeah, I don't like that. Light's killing my eyes today. That's why I had it off at first. Okay. Let's do this. I'm excited, man. I love video games. All right. History of video game consoles, peeps. Well, hello. Unmer name. Hope I said that right. Welcome to the show. We're talking about the history of video game consoles. Welcome to the show. Umer name. Hope I said it right. Okay. The history of video game consoles, generation 1. All right. 1967 to 1975. I was not born yet. Okay, before the era of Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft, there were many offshoot game consoles that attempted to capture the hearts of gamers everywhere. This era was defined by arcade cabinets and simple home consoles that could only play games like Pong. Any of you people remember Pong? This is real old school. Okay, Pong was essentially not even a joystick or a controller. It was just like how would you call that? Like a 180 degree movable circle. And you had basically a rectangle on bottom of the screen and a rectangle on the top of the screen and a little ball. And you had to move and hit the ball and it would go back up, hit the ball. It was almost like tennis, but in the, we'll say, 2-bit form. Really simple game, but fun, actually. Okay. Generation 2, 1975 to 1980. I was born. In Generation 2, we see the emergence of the first big-name gaming competitor with Nintendo's release of the Nintendo Color TV series. Now, remember that. This generation was defined by simple single-game consoles and still revolved around Pong-sized game, with household consoles being things like Mattel's Intellivision, I mentioned that earlier, and Philips Odyssey. No, I think I didn't mention that. I mentioned Commodore. Anyway, look at that. It looks like a telephone, doesn't it? Astro Smash. I don't remember that. All right, Generation 3. This is where it starts to get interesting. And if they don't mention a Atari, I'm going to be mad. Generation 3 is the start of the golden age of gaming. This era was defined by iconic games such as Pac-Man 1980, Mario Brothers 1983, The Legend of Zelda 1986, as well as many others. We also saw the first true console war between the Sega Master System and the Nintendo Entertainment System. Sega Genesis and Nintendo. All right, here comes Atari. Okay, why is there no picture? I don't see what I'm showing. Something's wrong. What's going on with the broadcast here? One moment, please. Are we frozen? Okay. The show must go on. That makes me sad. I really wanted to show these consoles. Okay, the war between Nintendo and Sega continued in Generation 4 with the introduction of the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Meanwhile, classic game console companies such as Atari started to fade into obscurity, unfortunately, and were eventually swept under the rug until nostalgia gamers revived them later in time. Handheld gaming also started picking up in this era with the introduction of the Nintendo Game Boy and Game Boy Color. I had a Game Boy. I never had a Game Boy Color, though. All right, Generation 5. In this generation, the war between Sega and Nintendo continued. However, and this is where it all changed, a new competitor also joined the race with the introduction of Sony's PlayStation in 1994. Man, that was a game changer. The big three consoles of this generation were the Sega Saturn, which didn't last long, the Nintendo 64, and the Sony PlayStation, 64-bit. This generation was defined by the introduction of CD drives, with only Nintendo sticking to the cartridge-based system. At this time, Sega started to decline rapidly, as I said, in the ranks of game consoles. Sega Saturn was actually probably the best of these three. The graphics were awesome, I remember, but they had a limited selection of games and the console was expensive. I had one friend that had it and it was pretty cool. All right, Generation 6, guys, 1998 to 2004. All right, Generation 6 introduced yet another competitor in the gaming scene with the introduction of the original Xbox, developed by Microsoft. I'm still not an Xbox guy. A lot of my friends have both PlayStation and Xbox, but I never did. This era, the first controller for Xbox, I didn't like it. This era started the landscape of competition that we still see in present day. Sega also released the Dreamcast as a late ditch. That's what it was, Dreamcast, not the Sega. Actually, Sega Saturn was cool too, but Dreamcast was the one that was really great. As a last-ditch effort to compete in the console wars. However, by the end of the console's life cycles, it was clear that the brown box was a vacuum tube circuit that could be connected to a television set and allowed two users to control cubes that chased each other on the screen. The brown box could be programmed to play a variety of games, including ping pong, checkers, and 4 sports games. Using advanced technology for this time, added accessories included a light gun for a target shooting game and a special attachment used for a golf putting game. Did not know any of this. According to the National Museum of American History, Bear recalled, the minute we played ping pong, we knew we had a product. Before that, we weren't too sure. The brown box was licensed to Magnavox, which released the system as the Magnavox Odyssey. in 1972. It preceded Atari by a few months, which is often mistakenly thought as the first game console. See, like, I knew there was game consoles before Atari, but Atari was the first popular game console. Everybody had that when I was a kid. Between August of 72 and 1975, when the Magnavox was discontinued, around 300,000 consoles were sold. Poor sales were blamed on mismanaged in-store marketing campaigns and the fact that home gaming was a relatively alien concept to the average American at this time. However mismanaged it might have been, this was the birth of digital gaming that we know today. All right, Atari. Sega and Taito were the first companies to pick the public's interest in arcade gaming when they released the electromechanical games Periscope and Crown Special Soccer in 1966 and 1967. In 1972, Atari, founded by Nolan Bushnell, the godfather of gaming, became the first gaming company to really set the benchmark for a large-scale gaming community. Atari not only developed their games in-house, they also created a whole new industry around the arcade. In 1973, retailing at $1,095, Atari began to sell the first real electronic video game Pong, and arcade machines began emerging in bars, bowling alleys, and shopping malls around the world. Tech heads realized they were on to a big thing. Between 1972 and 1985, more than 15 companies began to develop video games for the ever-expanding market. Okay, let's see if I can share this. Okay, that's share. Not much to see, but okay. The roots of multiplayer gaming as we know it. During the late 70s, a number of chain restaurants around the US started to install video games to capitalize on the new hot craze. The nature of the game sparked competition amongst players. Yes, it did. Arcades were so fun. Who could record their high scores and with their initials and were determined to mark their space at the top of the list. Oh man, that was so fun. At this point, multiplayer gaming was limited to players competing on the same screen. The first example of players competing for screens came in 1973 with Empire, a strategic turn-based game for up to 8 players, which was created for the Plato network system. I don't know. Plato, Program Logic for Automatic Teaching Operation, was one of the first generalized computer-based teaching systems. Originally built by the University of Illinois, and later taken over by Control Data, who built the machines on which the system ran. Control Data. I don't know. I hate data. Why did I say that? According to usage logs from the Plato system, users spent around 300,000 hours playing Empire between 78 and 85. At this point, gaming was popular with the younger generation and was shared activity in that people competed for high scores in arcades. However, most people would not have considered 4 out of every 5 American households having a game system as a probable reality. Not yet, anyway. All right, home gaming becomes a reality. In addition to gaming consoles becoming popular in commercial centers and chain restaurants in the US, the early 70s also saw the advent of personal computers and mass-produced gaming consoles became a reality. Technological advancements such as Intel's invention of the world's first microprocessor led to the creation of games such as Gunfight in 1975. This was the first example of a multiplayer human-to-human combat shooter. While far from Call of Duty, Gunfight was a big deal when it first hit arcades. It came with a new style of gameplay, using one joystick to control movement and another for shooting direction. something that had never been seen before. All right, in 77, Atari released the Atari VCS, later known as the Atari 2600, but found sales slow, selling only 250,000 machines in the first year, then 550,000 in 1978, well below the figures expected. The low sales have been blamed on the fact that Americans were still getting used to the idea of color TVs at home. The consoles were expensive and people were growing tired of Pong, Atari's most popular game. When it was released, the Atari VCS was only designed to play 10 simple challenge games, such as Pong, Outlaw, and Tank. However, the console included an external ROM slot where game cartridges could be plugged in. The potential was quickly discovered by programmers all around the world who created games far outperforming the console's original design. Okay, the integration of the microprocessor also led to the release of Space Invaders for the Atari VCS in 1980, signifying a new era of gaming. And sales, Atari 2600 shot up to 2 million units in 1980. That's probably around the time that we bought it, I think. All right. Personal computers, designing games and opening up to a wider community. The video game boom caused by Space Invaders saw a huge number of new companies and consoles pop up, resulting in a period of market saturation. Too many gaming consoles and too few interesting, engaging new games to play them on eventually led to the 1983 North American video games crash, which saw huge losses and truckloads of unpopular, poor quality titles buried in the desert just to get rid of them. The gaming industry was in need of a change. All right, at more or less the same time that consoles started getting bad press, home computers like the Commodore VIC-20, the Commodore 64, and the Apple II started to grow in popularity. These new home computer systems were affordable for the average American, retailing around $300 in the early 1980s, around $860 in today's cash, and were advertised in the sensible option for the whole family. These home computers had much more powerful processors than the previous generation of consoles. This opened the door to a new level of gaming with more complex, less linear games. They also offered the technology needed for gamers to create their own games with basic code. Even Bill Gates designed a game called Donkey, a simple game that involved dodging donkeys on a highway while driving a sports car. Great idea, Bill. Interestingly, the game was brought back from the dead as an iOS app back in 2012. While the game was described at the time as crude and embarrassing by rivals at Apple, Gates included the game to inspire users to develop their own games and programs using the integrated basic code program. You know, back in school when I was young, we used basic code and created our own games. I made a game with one of my fellow classmates. His name was Jason Krieg, and we called it Artillery. It was basically just two cannons, one on one side of the screen, one on the other, and you would put coordinates and try to shoot the other cannon and blow it up. It was fun. Really basic, but fun. I'm going to scan through this because we have a limited amount of time here. And we're not talking about computers. Okay, here we go. The move to online gaming on consoles. All right, long before gaming giants Sega and Nintendo moved into the sphere of online gaming, many engineers attempted to utilize the power of telephone lines to transfer information between consoles. William von Meister unveiled groundbreaking modem transfer technology for the Atari 2600 at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas in 1982. I didn't know we could go online with Atari. No, that can't be true. This new device, the CBC game line, enabled users to download software and games using their fixed telephone connection and a cartridge that could be plugged into their Atari console. I did not know that. This doesn't even sound real to me. The device allowed users to download multiple games from programmers around the world, which could be played for free up to 8 times. Why didn't we do this? It also allowed users to download free games on their birthdays. Unfortunately, the device failed to gain support from the leading games manufacturers of the time and was dealt a death blow by the crash of '83. All right, real advances in online gaming wouldn't take place until the release of 4th generation 16-bit era consoles in the early 1990s. After the internet as we know it became part of the public domain in 1993, the 95 Nintendo released Satellaview, a satellite modem peripheral for Nintendo's Super Famicom console. The technology allowed users to download games, news, and cheats hints directly to their console using satellites. Broadcasts continue until 2000, but the technology never made it out of Japan to the global market. Okay, that's why I've never heard of that one. All right, between 93 and 96, Sega, Nintendo, and Atari made a number of attempts to break into online gaming by using cable providers, but none of them really took off due to slow internet capabilities and problem with cable providers. It wasn't until the release of the Sega Dreamcast, the world's first internet-ready console in 2000, that real advances were made in online gaming as we know it today. The Dreamcast, which was awesome, came with an embedded 56 kilobytes per second modem and a copy of the latest Planet web browser, making internet-based gaming a core part of its setup rather than just a quirky add-on used by a minority of users. The Dreamcast was a truly revolutionary system and was the first net-centric device to gain popularity. However, it was also a massive failure, as I said earlier in our program, which effectively put an end to Sega's console legacy. Accessing the internet was expensive at the turn of the millennium, and Sega ended up footing huge bills as users used its Planet web browser around the world. Experts related the console's failure to the internet-focused technology being ahead of its time. It was. I can say that. Dreamcast was far ahead of its time, as well as the rapid evolution of PC technology in the early 2000s, which led people to doubt the use of a console designed solely for gaming. Regardless of its failure, Dreamcast paved the way for the next generation of consoles, such as Xbox, released in the mid-2000s. The new console manufacturers learned from and improved the net-centric focus on the Dreamcast, making online functionality an integral part of the gaming industry. All right, let's scroll down to modern age. All right, since the early 2000s, internet capabilities have exploded and computer processor technology has improved at such a fast rate that every new batch of games, graphics, and consoles seem to blow the previous generation out of the water. The cost of technology, servers, and the internet has dropped so far that internet at lightning speeds is now accessible and commonplace. And 3.2 billion people across the globe have access to the internet. According to the ESA Computer and Video Games Industry Report for 2015, at least 1.5 billion people with internet access play video games. Of course. Online storefronts such as Xbox Live Marketplace and the Wii Shop channel have totally changed the way people buy games, update software, and communicate and interact with other gamers. And networking services like Sony's PSN have helped online multiplayer gaming reach unbelievable new heights. Technology allows millions around the world to enjoy gaming as a shared activity. The recent ESA gaming report showed that 54% of frequent gamers feel their hobby helps them connect with friends, and 45% use gaming as a way to spend time with their family. By the time of the Xbox 360 release, online multiplayer gaming was an integral part of the experience, especially deathmatch games played against millions of peers around the world for games such as Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Nowadays, many people have an online component that vastly improves the gameplay experience and interactivity, often superseding the importance of the player's offline game objectives. What I've been told as a blanket expectation is that 90% of the players who start your game will never see the end of it, says Keith Fuller, a longtime production contractor for Activision, another old console. As online first-person shooter games became more popular, gaming clans began to emerge around the world. I was part of a few clans. A clan, guild, or faction is an organized group of video gamers that regularly play together in multiplayer games. These games range from groups of a few friends to 4,000 person organization with a broad range of structures, goals, and members. Multiple online platforms exist where clans are rated against each other and can organize battles and meetups online, this was so fun. I mean, I don't do that anymore. I'm an adult, but PlayStation 2 and 3, yeah, we used to clan it. That was fun stuff. I don't care about smartphones. All right, let's talk about the future. And I think that's all we have. All right. The move to mobile technology has defined the recent chapter of gaming. Now that's mobile still. No. The next chapter for gaming, okay. Virtual reality companies Oculus was acquired by Facebook in 2014 and is set to release its Rift headset in 2000. This is old, man. Okay. There have been a lot of advancements over the last few years in the world of language processing, artificial intelligence. Google acquired DeepMind this year. IBM acquired Alchemy API, a leading provider in deep learning technology. In October 2015, Apple made 2 AI acquisitions in less than a week. 2 of the fields are being developed. 2 of the fields being developed are accuracy for voice recognition technology and open-ended dialogue with computers. This is old hat, people. Yeah. Okay, let's go down to here. These advances could signify an amazing new chapter for gaming, especially with VR, as they could allow games to interact with characters within games who would be able to respond to questions and commands with intelligent and seemingly natural responses. In the world of first-person shooters, sports strategy games, players could effectively command the computer to complete in-game tasks, as the computer would be able to understand commands through a headset due to advances in voice recognition accuracy. If the changes that have occurred over the last century are anything to go by, it appears that gaming in 2025 will be almost unrecognizable to how it is today. Although Angry Birds has been a household name since its release in 2011, it's unlikely to be remembered as fondly as Space Invaders or Pong. No way. Angry Birds is nothing compared to those. Throughout its progression, gaming has seen multiple trends wane and tide, then be totally replaced by another technology. The next chapter for gaming is still unclear, but whatever happens, it is sure to be entertaining, of course. All right. That's going to do it, guys. We're finished. How did you like it? What's your favorite gaming console? Did you get a chance to play the original Atari 2600 like I did? I'm old. I have an advantage in that field, I think. But yeah, what's your favorite now? Are you Xbox, Nintendo, or PlayStation? I'm PlayStation, and I always will be. Nothing will change my mind. PlayStation is what changed the gaming industry for me. Nintendo was great. I mean, Atari was cool, but PlayStation is number one and always will be. I support Sony. Sorry, Microsoft. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for the 88th edition of the History of Video Game Consoles. This was fun. I love video games, and I always will. So it's been an honor and a pleasure to present this subject this week. So having said that, everybody have a great week. We'll be back with number 89 and a new start to our show starting next week. Until then, ciao for now.